The Curse of the Abandoned Basketball Court. In the heart of an isolated town, where twilight lingered long after the sun had set, an abandoned basketball court lay hidden behind a veil of tangled vines and crumbling brick walls. For decades, locals whispered of a curse that had befallen this forsaken place, a curse born on a night when a promising young athlete vanished without a trace during a championship game. The court, once alive with the echoes of bouncing balls and raucous cheers, had transformed into a relic of despair. Its rusted hoops and cracked concrete now served as the silent witness to a tragedy that had seeped into the very soul of the town. One chilly autumn evening, driven by equal parts curiosity and defiance, four friends Ethan, Laura, Marcus, and Sophia ventured into the depths of the encircling forest to confront the legend for themselves. They had grown up on fragmented tales of the mysterious disappearance and the ghostly dribbling sounds that haunted the night. Despite their rational minds, an unshakable dread accompanied each step as they approached the forsaken court. A dense fog began to curl around the gnarled trees, and the air turned icy, as though the night itself were warning them to turn back. As they stepped onto the cracked surface, the oppressive silence was shattered by a rhythmic thump that resonated deep within the bones of the old court. Shadows writhed along the perimeter, twisting into shapes that defied logic. It was then that they saw it, a spectral figure emerging from the gloom, its form barely distinguishable from the dark mist. The apparition, with eyes that burned with a sorrowful intensity, moved with an unsettling grace. In its presence, time seemed to slow, every heartbeat echoed like a drum in a long-forgotten game. The ghost, rumored to be the vanished player doomed to forever relive his final moments, began to dribble an invisible ball. Each echoing bounce carried with it a lament of a life cut tragically short. Ethan's voice trembled as he pleaded for mercy, but the figure's eyes held no compassion, only a deep, unyielding hunger for retribution. Lara's pen flew across her notebook, desperate to capture every detail while her mind raced to comprehend the supernatural tableau unfolding before her eyes. Marcus felt the weight of the town's dark legacy press down on him, and Sophia, though outwardly resolute, was haunted by an inner terror that threatened to shatter her composure. In that moment, the abandoned court revealed itself not merely as a place of forgotten sport, but as a nexus where grief and vengeance converged in a spectral dance. The atmosphere thickened with the palpable presence of memories of a once thriving community, now silenced by a curse too terrible to escape. The ghostly figure advanced slowly, each step punctuating the eternal sorrow of the lost game. As if answering an unspoken call, the court itself seemed to awaken. The peeling paint on the walls pulsed with dark energy, and the faint sound of a cheering crowd reverberated in the distance. The friends, gripped by a primal urge to flee, scattered in panic. Yet even as they ran, the sound of that relentless dribbling echoed in their ears, a ghostly metronome marking the rhythm of a tragic destiny. In the days and weeks that followed, each of the four would find their lives irrevocably altered. Ethan was tormented by vivid nightmares in which the ghostly player's hollow eyes followed him through endless corridors of darkness. Lara's investigative instincts drove her to uncover hidden archives and faded newspaper clippings, revealing that the vanished athlete had been embroiled in scandal and despair, a life marred by betrayal that ended abruptly on that fateful night. Marcus withdrew into a shell of perpetual anxiety, haunted by the belief that the curse had claimed him in ways both seen and unseen. And Sophia, ever the brave one, bore the silent burden of knowing that their intrusion had awoken something ancient, something that now refused to let the past rest. As the legend of the cursed court spread beyond the town's borders, thrill-seekers and paranormal investigators began to make pilgrimages to the site. They arrived with cameras and recording devices, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. Many reported hearing the rhythmic bounce of a ball long after the sun had set, or catching a glimpse of a pale figure standing by the rusted hoop. Yet each encounter only deepened the mystery and intensified the dread that shrouded the court. The ghostly dribbling, the anguished eyes of the apparition, and the whispers carried by the wind became symbols of a curse that bound the living to a past marred by tragedy. One moonless night, a solitary figure returned to the court. Drawn by an inexplicable force and burdened with secrets of their own, this wanderer stepped onto the cracked pavement with a heart full of questions. The night was still, the only sound the soft rustle of leaves stirred by a hesitant breeze. Then, as if conjured by the weight of despair, the spectral player materialized once more. The figure's gaze met the wanderers in a silent exchange that spoke of irrevocable loss and eternal longing. In that fleeting moment, the boundaries between life and death blurred, and the wanderer felt the profound sorrow of a spirit condemned to repeat a final, ill-fated game. By dawn's early light, the apparition faded, leaving behind only the lingering echo of its last dribble. The abandoned basketball court remained a monument to shattered dreams and an enduring reminder that some curses are destined to persist, whispering their secrets to all who dare to listen. The shadow on the night run. Anna loved running at night. The crisp air, the silence of the empty streets, and the rhythmic pounding of her feet against the pavement made her feel alive. It was her escape from the stress of work, an hour of solitude where she could clear her mind. That night, the city was particularly quiet. The streetlights flickered, casting elongated shadows onto the pavement. She took her usual route, a 5-mile loop through the park and along the river before heading back home. The first 2 miles were peaceful, just like always. But as she entered the darkened path that ran alongside the trees, a strange sensation crept over her, a feeling of being watched. Anna glanced over her shoulder. Nothing. Shaking off the paranoia, she continued running. Her earbuds played a soft tune, but beneath the music, she swore she heard footsteps that didn't match her rhythm. Slowing her pace, she stopped near a bench, pretending to stretch while subtly scanning the area. The path behind her was empty. "You're imagining things," she muttered under her breath and picked up her pace again. Then she saw it. A shadow. Not cast by any tree or lamp, but something that moved fluid and unnatural. It glided along the path behind her, its form shifting and stretching as if trying to match her movements. Anna's breath hitched. Was someone following her? No, it didn't look human. It was just a shape, a void where light should be. Her heart pounded as she pushed herself to run faster, but the shadow kept up. It didn't just follow, it grew. The darkness around it thickened, swallowing the light. The street lamps ahead dimmed as she approached them, their glow fading into an eerie twilight. She veered off the main path, cutting through the trees toward the riverside. The sound of water rushing against the embankment filled her ears, but so did something else, a whisper. Faint at first, then unmistakable. "Run, faster." Anna gasped, barely dodging a fallen branch. The whisper wasn't in her mind. It was right behind her. She didn't dare look. She sprinted toward the nearest bridge, hoping to reach the well-lit road on the other side. Then her foot caught on something. She crashed onto the pavement, her palms scraping against the rough concrete. Pain shot up her arms, but she scrambled to her feet, spinning around to see what had tripped her. Nothing. Only that shadow, looming just a few feet away, stretching toward her like outstretched fingers. Desperate, she bolted across the bridge. As she reached the other side, the lights brightened again. The air felt lighter. She dared to look back. The shadow had stopped at the bridge's edge, writhing as if repelled by the light. And then it vanished. Gasping for breath, Anna staggered home, locking every door and window behind her. She never ran at night again. But sometimes, late at night, when she lay awake in bed, she swore she could hear it still whispering from the darkness outside her window. "Run, faster." The weeks passed, but Anna couldn't shake the unease. She avoided telling anyone what had happened, fearing they'd call her crazy. Yet every time she glanced out her window at night, she felt it again, that presence, lingering just beyond the light's reach. Then, one evening, her phone buzzed with a message from her friend Mark. "Hey, did you hear about that jogger who went missing near the river path last night?" Her stomach twisted. "What happened?" She typed back. "No one knows. He was seen running, then just gone. No sign of struggle, no clues, just disappeared. Some say they found strange shadows in the area, but the cameras didn't pick up anything." Anna's fingers trembled over the keyboard. She wanted to tell Mark everything but hesitated. Instead, she asked, "What do you mean by strange shadows?" They said the lights flickered, and security footage showed moments of total darkness, like something was blocking out all light. No one knows what to make of it. Anna's breath quickened. The shadow wasn't just after her. It was still out there. That night, she barricaded herself in her bedroom, double-checking the locks. Sleep didn't come easy. At 3:07 a.m., she awoke with a start. The room was dark, too dark. her nightlight had gone out. Her heart pounded as she reached for her phone, but before she could turn on the flashlight, a familiar whisper slithered into her ears. "Run, faster." She couldn't move. The darkness felt thick, pressing against her skin like unseen hands. The whisper grew louder, morphing into a chorus of voices, each distorted, each crying out in desperation. Summoning every ounce of courage, she threw herself from the bed and fumbled for the switch. Light flooded the room, and just like that, the whisper ceased. But her window was open. And on the glass, a faint, inky handprint smeared down the pane. The shadow had found her again. Anna didn't stay in the city after that. She packed her things and moved miles away, to a town where streetlights never flickered, where shadows didn't stretch unnaturally in the night. But deep down, she knew. No matter where she ran, it would always be watching. Waiting. Whispering. "Run, faster." The last player in the football match. In the small town of Ravenhurst, football was more than just a sport, it was the heartbeat of the community. Every weekend, the century-old stadium filled with passionate fans who believed that every match held a promise of glory and honor. The Ravens were more than a team, they were a symbol of hope and pride, and their fierce rivalry with the Blackwood Wolves was the stuff of legend. The season finale, eagerly awaited by every resident, was a night when dreams and destiny collided. On a stormy autumn evening in October 1998, the final match of the season unfolded beneath a dark, brooding sky. Rain lashed the field in relentless torrents, transforming the lush green pitch into a treacherous, muddy battlefield. The flickering floodlights struggled to pierce the swirling mist that rose from the sodden ground, casting ghostly shadows across the stands. Despite the inclement weather, an electrified atmosphere gripped the crowd as they braved the elements for one unforgettable night. The game was a hard-fought battle from the opening whistle. Players darted across the field with the fervor of warriors, their determination etched on their sweat-soaked faces. Every pass, every tackle, and every save was met with a mix of roaring cheers and gasps of disbelief. The score remained deadlocked, the tension mounting with each passing minute, until an inexplicable chill seemed to creep into the very air. With only 10 minutes remaining on the clock, the Ravens coach made a decision that would forever alter the course of history. In a move that defied explanation, a mysterious substitution was announced. A new player, bearing the number 13 on his back, stepped onto the pitch. No one had seen him during the warm-up, and his sudden appearance went unnoticed amid the clamor. His gaunt face, partly hidden beneath a drenched helmet, was as pallid as a specter's, and his eyes shone with an otherworldly gleam that sent shivers down the spine of every onlooker. At first, the enigmatic number 13 performed with an almost supernatural brilliance. He sprinted across the field with unmatched speed, intercepted passes with precision, and seemed to anticipate every move made by the opposing team. His presence injected a burst of energy into the game, and for a fleeting moment, hope flickered in the hearts of the Ravens supporters. But as the match progressed, disturbing events began to unravel. A star striker from the Blackwood Wolves suddenly collapsed in the middle of the field, clutching his chest as if strangled by an invisible force. Seconds later, a defender crumpled to the ground, his leg twisting at an impossible angle. One by one, players from both teams fell victim to a bizarre and inexplicable affliction. Their bodies convulsed in unnatural contortions, and then, without warning, they vanished entirely, leaving behind only their drenched uniforms and scattered cleats on the muddy grass. Through the mounting chaos, the mysterious number 13 remained unaffected. With an eerie calm, he continued to play, his every movement deliberate and unerringly precise. As the final minutes ticked away, the field became a macabre scene, the once thriving arena now bore the silent testimony of lives abruptly erased. When the final whistle blew, the scoreboard declared a victory for the Ravens, yet no celebration erupted. Instead, a profound, unsettling silence descended over the stadium. In the aftermath, authorities scoured the field for clues, but their efforts yielded only emptiness. No footprints led away from the pitch, no evidence explained the vanishing of the players. The records were inexplicably altered, as though that fateful night had been deliberately expunged from history. Ravenhurst's inhabitants tried in vain to forget the horrors of that game, yet the memory of the cursed match lingered like a shadow over their collective soul. In the years that followed, whispered legends grew around the tragedy. Locals recounted how, On stormy nights when the wind howled through deserted streets, a solitary figure could be seen wandering the abandoned stadium. Under the flickering glow of broken floodlights, the spectral image of number 13 would appear at the center of the pitch, his cold, empty eyes scanning the darkness as if waiting for something lost. Some claim to hear distant echoes of a cheering crowd and the soft thud of a football being kicked, a ghostly reenactment of that ill-fated game. As time passed, the legend of the last player deepened. Late-night conversations in hushed tones spoke of a curse that extended beyond a single match, a curse that bound the soul of the mysterious substitute to the stadium and its tragic history. Scholars and paranormal investigators, drawn by the chilling mystery, visited Ravenhurst only to be met with fearful silence and stories of inexplicable phenomena. A local priest once murmured that the disappearance of the players was a grim reminder of forces beyond human understanding, and that the boundary between the living and the dead had been irrevocably blurred on that stormy night. Even today, the old stadium stands in eerie neglect, overgrown with ivy and shrouded in mist. Those brave enough to venture near its decaying walls on a tempestuous night claim to sense a presence, a silent, mournful guardian of a dark secret. The legend persists as a haunting reminder that some games are cursed, and that the price of glory may sometimes be paid in the currency of souls. The last player, number 13, remains an eternal enigma, forever waiting for the next call to the field, where the game never truly ends.